welcome to the Everyday Millionaire Show with Ryan Greenberg and Nick Kalfas. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Millionaire Show. We are here doing an internal podcast, trying to get some more content out to you guys. Unfortunately, we made a boo-boo on our last podcast and forgot to press the audio recording, so we'll have to redo that one.
Ruh-roh.
That's like the third one that has happened.
I would say 3, but I think it's been up there, maybe double that.
Listen,
Maybe
Nick
5 or
doesn't know
6.
because he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's true. Nick doesn't have any idea.
It was probably 5 or 6. I mean, I know that it's happened.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen too long before that one. Maybe a month before that one it happened.
Yeah, I hate to even admit it, but life
It
is
happens.
hard.
It happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. I mean, with the cameras, recording, getting all the settings correct, and then
Pressing
the
one
audio.
button.
Pressing one button, yeah.
Yeah.
Nick,
Now I know
so
what to
easy.
look out for, and I'm looking at it right now, making sure it doesn't start to dim off.
Well, if we start getting some advertisements, we'll have to hire an actual producer too.
Maybe we get some sponsors. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Then we could actually go pro.
If you're out there looking for somewhere to market, we're here for you. We're here in the real estate world, especially Maryland, DMV area. All right, so a couple things that I wanted to talk about today was the market right now it's all over the place. I feel like I can't get a good hold on it. We have people that are saying they're getting multiple offers on things, and then we have properties. Chase and I have properties that are sitting vacant, both on the rental space and on for sale. And I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of that boils down to the location. I feel like regardless of what market we're in, if you're in a good location, and the house is priced correctly, it's going to sell. And then obviously we have those tougher areas. I have a few rentals that have been sitting for quite some time, and I don't think it's just the market. I think it could have been like the cold winters. Now we're hitting the spring. It's starting to, fire up a little bit more, but those few units that have been sitting are still sitting with not much activity.
Yeah. One of ours is like A+ rental here.
Yeah, it's Savanna Park. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when we were looking at we've talked about this deal 100 times, but like when we were looking at the deal, it was like, oh, this is going to rent easy. We won't.
That was the duplex?
Yeah.
Yeah, Benfield, yeah.
One of them we got re-rented and an increased rent. And then the other one they left because we increased the rent and we relisted it. And it's been sitting now for like 2 months at least.
Yeah, but it's weird because the units right next to us, so Fullerton, the guy that sold us the deal, he just rented his out and he came on after us.
Basically same exact house with like one wall taken out.
Yeah.
But same quality of like finish and everything like that.
I think it may be a little better. I think they did a little better job over there. I think the layout's maybe a tiny bit better as far as like master bathrooms, a little bigger space. They might get more space over there, but still, nonetheless, he came on the rental market after us. 3,500. We're listed at 32, and he already had it rented out. So it's just kind of interesting to see. And then we have our flip that's absolutely dying down in PG County. Right now, just getting kind of crushed by.
So back to the Benfield one, the duplexes right next to each other. Both were listed at the same time. Do you guys both have signs out front? Like, what would make a potential tenant look at one of them?
Neither
and
of
not
us had
see,
signs, and it's
and
not
see
a
the other
really
one?
good place. I guess could probably put a sign on like Benfield itself, a rental sign.
Because I would just think anyone interested in the one would see the other, unless they didn't know that the other one was available for rent.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everybody's on Zillow. They're looking at wherever.
To be fair too, like it's not like we haven't got rental applications.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Yeah,
gotten
we have had applications.
They just haven't qualified. So like we don't know what his standards are versus
Yeah.
ours. That could be completely different too.
That is true. I mean, because we are looking for like at least 2.5 to 3 times rent, so they have to make at least $120,000 a year to qualify, and that's people in that bracket, or a lot of them are trying to buy houses and not rent them. So I don't know, but it is weird. It's a weird time of year too. It's like springtime. It's just starting, so hopefully it picks up. But I know like there are other markets around, not locally, like in Florida, they're getting absolutely demolished. So there are markets around that are getting
Yeah, I mean,
crushed.
for here, like I've been talking to some agents, and like it's all sub markets, right? Like depending on like what street you're on in Baltimore, there's multiple offers. People are waiving contingencies again. There's going 50K over, non-refundable EMDs even, which is absolutely wild. And it's just like it's all dependent. I think Glen Burnie's starting to pick up. I just had one going to contract in 3 days, 10K over. So like. I think it just depends on the market, like you were saying, Nick. Location, and then if it's priced well, like
Yeah, and it's typical with the spring market. You know, spring is here. People feel a little better when it's warmer. I mean, we did have some of the coldest days in December, January, and early February that we've had in quite some time. It was like, you know, and we knew that just by how much of an increase certain BG&E bills were. And talking just about BG&E, I had a vacant property, $700 BG&E bill that was vacant for the whole month of December and January, and it was $700 December and like $650 in January. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
have you ever tried to call them and argue with them about that?
No, I went to the property and saw that the fan was on instead of auto, and
Yeah.
it's a heat pump, so there's no gas. If it was a gas furnace, it'd probably be a little bit cheaper, but because it's a heat pump and the fan was on, it was just running 24/7. And then when I turned it off, it cut the BG&E bill in half, but it went from $650 to $320, which is still pretty high for
BG&E is a big problem right
vacant,
now. I know
building.
I've been talking to a couple of multifamily guys that are getting absolutely demolished by BG&E increases. Like they're saying that their bills have went up by like 8 to 10 times
Yeah.
what it was. So like some of these older buildings, the one that I'm working on now has one central like heating system for all 12 units, and that bill is on the landlord, and that bill has gone through the roof. So BG&E is a big problem, and it's not just BG&E too. I found
Insurance.
Delmarva Power.
Oh,
So
different power companies.
different power companies. So my brother's bill went from like $300. He has like a 2,400 square foot house, brand new construction, so like insulated well, the whole nine. His bill went from like $3-something to $1,200 a month.
Oh, yeah, he told me that. That was wild. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, like how does somebody like
That's a mortgage payment for some
regular
people.
somebody like people can't afford that issue, and
Yeah.
then you think about the tenants in some of these units that are living paycheck to paycheck, and they're getting the ones that the tenants are responsible for. They're getting crushed. So that's a big problem. I know Mike Griffith talked about kind of the power problem that we're having here, but it is a huge problem for investors.
Before we move on real quick, want to talk, Nick, maybe I can pick your brain about this. I had a solar guy come over and knock my door the other day, and it's very interesting the pitch that he pitched me, because I was like, listen, dude, this is going to be a rental. I don't really care about solar because, you know, the tenant's going to pay their own bill. And he was like, well, I mean, if you think about it, if you put solar on and invest now, then you can charge them the rent and make the money, and you know where your energy costs are going to be, and they're going to be stationary, so you can always just make extra money on the energy costs. What do you guys think about that as far as, you know, using it on your rentals?
I mean, I just don't like being sold. So like if somebody came to knock on my door about solar, I would have a conversation with them for 1 minute and just tell them I'm not interested. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion on it. The only thing that I would think is, will it affect my roof, and will my roof have leaks if I did get it done, and maybe there's a leak solely because there was an improperly installation of the solar panels, or over time, kind of like a skylight. How skylights, they're good at the beginning, but over time, if you have a skylight, it's going to leak eventually.
They leak, and then you have to replace them, and so on and so forth.
And I definitely wouldn't get solar without a brand new roof, or at least like within 5 years or something, because you put solar panels on a 10-year-old roof, and in 5 years you got to take them all off and put them all back. You just ate up how many years of electric bill?
So, I mean, the research that I've done, most of these solar companies will guarantee the roof. So they check the roof out first, and they look at it and say, okay, yeah, this is a good roof. This qualifies for our 10-year warranty, or whatever it is, right? They have certain warranties. But that's definitely a thought. Like the reason that I thought about this was because the military does this with their base housing, because their base housing is where they pay all the water, the utilities, the electric, and everything. So their thought is they're just going to go ahead and invest in solar and keep costs low. Kind of makes sense for a landlord. If you have, 15 properties with, fairly new roofs, you can make some extra income on the on the electricity.
And explain to me, what do you mean by making the extra income on a property that has solar when a tenant moves in there? Like, what are you referring to getting that extra income from?
Yeah, I mean, if for example, let's say my average electric bill is $200, and by putting solar on my roof, maybe it drops it down to $10 for deliveries and everything else, right? So now I can go to my tenant and charge them $150, $180, $200 a month for electricity bill, and that's not really going to fluctuate that much.
So you mean like include the BG&E bill, but charge them what they think would be like an actual BG&E bill for that property, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay,
in a
but
sense.
what about the money that you have to pay for the solar?
Right. So that money is included in what the difference is. So it's going to be a monthly payment, or you pay out of pocket up front. So that's like a bigger investment.
I would like to talk to someone who had solar for maybe a few years and actually know, like, all right, before I got solar, my bill was $300 and now it's X amount, just to see like exactly how much you're saving. And then, it's kind of like water bills, having like multi-unit buildings and the owner pays the water bill. Like if they run up their electricity 1 month, or if it's really cold in the winters like we just had, it's going to drive that bill up,
right?
More for you as the owner.
They can do that. They can do that data with the solar companies and average how much you've been using over the last couple of years, kilowatts, and say like, hey, last year was a really cold. I mean, this past year was a really cold winter. So like, how much did you use on average? I think mine was like 1,250 kilowatt hours of electricity.
Now the other question is the technology like changing and getting better?
See, that's the big question that I have, and that's been kind of my holdback, is like you were talking about a guy that invented these shingles,
yeah,
which would be pretty cool.
So our home inspector has equity in this business that I guess he just invested in, where they're making like, and Tesla had them, but these are like these literally look like regular shingles. They're installed like regular shingles with nail guns, and they're solar cells. So I feel like this technology it's just like if you were to get like an iPhone 5-10 years ago, it does a lot. It's a lot less than the iPhone right now. So I don't know. I would just worry about that.
The only problem I see with waiting though is the grid system can only hold so many people. And from the way I understand it, like only so many people in a certain area can have solar, and then so many can't.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. From the way I understand it. But
and I mean, another negative would be, a negative would be if the tenant doesn't pay your rent, right? If they fall behind, now not only are they falling behind on rent, but they're also falling behind on
that's what I told the
BG&E,
sale guy.
And you still got to pay the BG&E.
Right.
Whereas like, if they had BG&E in their name, you would just have to still continue to pay your mortgage, obviously.
I guess there are more questions that I would have before I would make a decision on.
I just thought it was an interesting thought, something that I don't think most landlords think about, and I've just kind of started pondering it and doing a little bit of research with chat to see.
I think some of these multifamily guys are thinking about it right now. With all their common spaces and stuff.
Your brother should be thinking about it.
I know. The problem with his house, it's all wooded.
Oh, damn.
So there's not a lot of sun. That's the other thing. It's like if it's fucking cloudy, there's no solar.
Yeah.
So a couple months out of the year, you're getting like, is it worse in the winter? When you need the electric the most, is it not? It's not as sunny, obviously, because it gets dark at 4 p.m.
Right.
So how much is that like losing out? I don't know. I have a lot of questions. Maybe we can get a solar person on here to pitch us.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Finding somebody. Nick, what are you doing right now? Buying more rentals or flips?
It's about 50-50. So I have 5 under construction right now, and I think 3 of them are flips, 2 are rentals.
And how are you determining like which ones you're gonna sell? Like, because I know you're kind of flipping and doing that all in like the same little pocket.
Yeah.
How do you determine which
what
one?
I'm paying for it? So if I know, so I guess generally speaking, I buy a lot in a certain area, and if I'm paying over $90,000 for it, it probably won't, and I have to do like a full renovation. It probably won't make sense to keep it as a rental just because of the debt that I'm going to have on it, and the mortgage after I refinance it. So that number will still make sense to do a flip. Whereas if I bought that same property for 60 or 70, and I could refinance it maybe at like 140, 150, then it would, be a good cash flowing property to keep.
What's your criteria for cash flowing and keeping as a rental?
So,
And has it changed over the years?
oh yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. I mean,
Yeah, it's definitely changed.
back in 2021, 2022, when we were refinancing at 4.25, like anything and everything was cash flowing. And now it's like, and that's another thing. Like if I got to pay more and the interest rates are 6.5, 7 still, well now, then I might not cash flow. So it might make sense to sell. If the house is really close to other houses I have, I may just keep it if I can cash flow. Like if I can fully renovate a property and not worry so much about the big capital expenditures like the HVAC, roof, windows, water heater, and all that good stuff, and I can wait, until the end of that life expectancy, then I will only have to worry about the recurring maintenance like pest control, broken down appliances, and stuff like that. I can cash flow between $300 to $500 and be happy.
Okay.
After paying the PITI. If I buy a property and the cash flow is 300 and everything is 15 years old, that may not be worth it to me because then I know there's going to be some capital expenditures that may be coming up shortly down the road.
That's where I feel like a lot of investors kind of make mistakes right now is like they get so bought in on their buy box of being like, okay, it cash flows $300, but then they don't think about those big CapEx expenditures that you're talking about. And that's what me and Ryan talk about is like, if we're going to keep a property, we'd almost rather it be fully renovated to where we don't have to worry about those things 10, 13 years down the road. And we don't have to basically account for those in our cash flow. So 300 to 500 is what you're keeping right now. If you replace the HVAC, water heater, roof.
I'm satisfied that like 300 the low end. Obviously some are more than 500 as well. But if everything is new, I'm fine with that just because of that reason alone. Like obviously the CapEx expenses are a lot higher than the general maintenance.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to say like the idea of like retiring through rentals is like dead, but it's definitely way harder to do now than it was, like you said, 2018 to 22 or so. Those you just couldn't lose. Like every deal that we did, we made money on, we refinanced it, pulled down a bag of money, still cash flowed. And now when I'm like coaching people and talking to different people that are trying to get into the game and they're like so gung-ho about like, oh, I want to buy this rental, I want to buy this rental. I'm like, look, you really got to run the numbers because you might be better off putting your money somewhere else right now until rates come down and inventory gets higher.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to buy some more rentals just by myself as well. I mean, for tax purposes and other reasons, but I mean, that's a big thing that I think about is like, how much risk tolerance can I have on that cash flow side? Like 300 seems pretty low for me, but like now that you say like, okay, well, if you're taking care of the roof, the HVAC, the electric, the plumbing, like all those big things, then it might make sense.
Yeah.
No, it does make sense. And like, that's a very small portion of the whole picture, right? Like you have the cash flow. Okay, great. But then you have, like you said, tax benefits, appreciation, debt pay down.
Yep.
And that's the other things that you have to really focus on. So like Jet, who I'm coaching, we were talking about like his portfolio makes a lot more sense for him to buy stuff that he can take tax losses from his other business and negate some of those profits. Where if you are just a regular W-2 employee, those same deals don't make sense because you can't write off the income.
Right.
So for certain people, you really have to look at some of those other factors as like really big ticket items, like the tax depreciation part of it is a massive, a massive come up for some people. But then for the other people that are on the other side of the fence that are just regular W-2 employees, even if they're high income earners or whatever, you can't write off those expenses from your portfolio. So that whole there's some benefit there, but it's not like it would be for somebody that is a real estate professional. Yeah,
but I would say I'm not, and this is not advice in any way, shape, or form, but the 9-to-5 worker who saves 15, 20, 25,000, they can make that more money for them than putting it into like a stock market or something like that just by buying the real estate, just by getting off, for those pieces, the appreciation, debt pay down, tax benefits, and the cash flow every month.
Now, what are your thoughts about, I know we've talked about this before, what are your thoughts on now you got some properties, let's just say you have 10 houses, right? You're a new investor, you have 10 houses. what are your thoughts? And right now, you bought them recently, right? So your rate's 6, 7, 8%. What's your thoughts on just attacking the debt? If you have an income from somewhere else, right? Like high income earner on the W-2 world, you have a business, whatever, just starting to attack the debt and pay it down. And now you have 10 paid off houses.
I think you start attacking when you want to start slowing down or stopping. If your whole goal was to get to 10 and get to 10 paid off houses, then yeah, start attacking that debt. But if your goal wasn't to stop, if you still enjoy buying those houses, buy the right ones, buy the ones that still cash flow, even at the 7% interest rate that you may refinance at, then I would still continue to do that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then I would say if you are attacking them, you better attack the highest rate first.
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea. You attack the highest rate first, and then as you pay them off, you can bundle them up and borrow against them. So that's another kind of strategy. Instead of borrowing a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, you can do a line of credit, an asset-based line of credit. So then you're not paying interest unless you use that money. So you still have access to the leverage. It's maybe not as much leverage as you buying something, with a mortgage, but it is still reusing that equity in a certain way that's not costing you 8% always throughout the year. You're only paying it as you use it. So that's
but then you put your money down, your free money, to pay off that debt. So in turn, it's just you're cycling it.
Yeah, because you could use that same money to buy
more.
one more house.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying,
but
if you're
your
ready to
cash
stop,
flow goes up because you're not paying that interest, right? All these loans are front-end loaded up with interest. So your cash flow increases significantly when they're paid off because you don't have to pay any interest.
But then if you're going to leverage against it, you got to pay interest.
Right, but only when you do it in a line, like in the form of a line of credit, you only pay the interest as you use that money. So if you're going to do like a BRRRR, for example, you could buy the whole thing in cash.
So you mean like instead of like using hard money and then refinancing out, you can just use your own money, pay less, and then refinance out to another long-term loan?
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd have to figure out how long that would take you to pay those off. If you had 10 and they're all...
Yeah, everybody's in a different, obviously different situation. I was saying like somebody that makes a lot somewhere else, they could be a medical device salesperson making $300K a year, and if you can live on $100K a year and you could pay off one house per year, and now 10 years down the road you have 10 paid off houses, that's pretty good. I mean, how much? You gotta ask yourself, I guess, how much money do you need per month to live, and then decide that. But I just asked that because the rates are sticking where they're at right now. They said they're not dropping them right now. They said that they expect, I guess, a 50 bip decrease by the end of the year, but that's really not that much. So like a half a point isn't really going to move the market all that much.
Yeah.
So just something to think about. Comment if you have an opinion in one way or another.
And let us know where you think rates are going to be at by the end of the year. That's what I'm curious to see.
I think we'll be in the mid sixes is where I think we're going to land at the end of this year.
Okay.
That's my prediction. Just based on
I'm going to say low
people that I've talked about.
Low sixes.
Low sixes.
I don't have an opinion on that. I'm just going to keep pushing.
Just guess.
All right, so I think rates will be hopefully around 5% at the end of 2025.
5%?
5%?
I'm just being optimistic here.
I like it. Yeah.
Cool.
You said give me an opinion, and there it is.
Cool.
Yeah, five would be sick. I would definitely
refinance a bunch of stuff.
Pulling a big refinance for sure at 5% because I got definitely a couple million in that 7+% range. That is tough. It's tough. It is. But we had you got.
What's our DSCR loan at? Do you know?
It's like 7.7.
Is it 7?
I think it's like 7.7 or 7.75 or something like that. Yeah. So and that's a 5-year prepayment penalty too. So that's tough. That's another tough one. But yeah, the market is not. It's. We'll see what the rates do
Which
to the
property
market.
is that?
That's the Benfield one.
Park.
But
okay.
We're also doing like just to go to like some of like the bad side or like the tough side of investing, and the real side of it is like Chase and I have 2 big flips that are open that haven't that are for sale or one's about to be for sale, one's for sale, and then we have 1 vacant unit at a $1.1 million duplex. We're hemorrhaging like $13,000 a month in interest payments.
Yeah,
that's just out the window every month, 13K. So, for people that are trying to get into the game and new to this, make sure that you have a little nest egg saved up, because it is not all rainbows and butterflies. Things are not just moving, and
That's what Tyler just said to me today. He's like, you can handle this? And I was like, I can for a little bit, but not for like another year. Like,
what was it?
The capital calls, like having to put up 13K a month, in capital calls.
For that, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can handle it for but like it's not. I can't do this for a year, but we don't expect to do it for a year, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all seasons and periods.
So it's you got to be careful. You really do. I think people get really like overzealous, and they're just like, oh, just buy it. It'll sell or it'll refinance. Like I used to think that way. Now I'm like, we better,
Yeah.
And we make money. I mean, we make enough money. But that's the other part. What's nice about partnerships too, because there's 3 of us that are sharing that expense. It's still not great that we're spending over $4,000 a month each in interest, but it's definitely better than one of us spending the whole 13K. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's just the properties. That's not our CRMs and our wholesaling operation.
Yeah,
that's another $3,000 a month too.
Yeah, the website.
Yeah, that's why I try to keep all of my loan amounts around 2 to 250. That way, like those bigger deals kind of scare me. Like if I get up and if it's a property at 6, 7, 800,000.
I know, just the win. It's all relative, right? The wins are bigger at that. It's like arguably the same amount of work, and it's a bigger win, bigger risk. But like for me to renovate like a single family, like the one in PG, it's just as easy to do that, if not easier, because the houses are typically newer than a city row home. Like it's probably easier for me to do the PG single family house than it is for me to do an old 100-year-old row home that needs a full gut. So for the same amount of work, if you're able to, if let's say you're averaging, 20K in profits, we should be 40K in profits.
And it costs less typically. I mean, from my experience, it costs less on the renovation side. Like, Lakeston costs us $95, but a Baltimore property, I mean, typically from the things I hear, you got to go down. So that's going to cost you, a couple grand, and you're going to be at like 125 before you know it.
Wait, a couple grand to go down where?
To dig down.
We do a lot of
couple grand.
It's
like
more than it's more than a couple grand, but you know what I mean.
That's how rich Chase is. A couple grand is now 30K.
Yeah,
couple grand,
couple of K's in there, but you know what I mean.
There's a couple of K's there. Yeah.
I didn't want to tell your price to everybody, so
no.
I wish there was a couple grand. That'd be nice.
I posted it on Facebook the other day. Somebody was asking.
But yeah, I mean, so I think, but it's that thing. It's exactly that. It's like you're carrying bigger payments, and you got to.
Well, that's the thing. Like you can win bigger, but like if you're carrying it and you don't have the funds to carry it, if you ran out of construction money,
right,
then it's just coming out of your pocket.
Another thing I was talking about, we're talking about wholesaling, is a couple of the Vibe young agents were talking, and they were asking about like different operations and asking me about like our CRMs and like the data providers and cold callers. And I was telling them like it costs us around $2,400 a month to buy the data and then to hire the cold callers to go through that data. And one of the agents responded like, oh, well, you could just buy the data and then go through it yourself. And I was like, well, if you do that, you're getting 10,000 records with 5 phone numbers each. So you're telling me you're going to make 50,000 phone calls in a month? And then what? And then you still got to find
But if that's somebody if that's their job, they want to make that their job, you technically could.
Yeah, and that was her point, is like if you didn't have the money to hire the cold callers, you could do that. But my point is like if you don't have the money to do that, you should just do it the free way. Like you should just be on market deals, trying to find agents to connect with and have them bring you deals and that type of thing until you bring up a nest egg enough to cover a couple months worth of cold callers and data.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people like to skip steps. And I think the good old fashioned just hitting the phones for young people, it's good. It's like the people that did door-to-door sales or like car salesmen. They kind of had to cut their teeth at that grindy sales job, and those people are typically become the best salesmen. So making those calls, I mean, if that's what you want to do and you want to be, getting off market deals, you can be bird dogging, you can go looking for properties, driving for dollars, you can be calling the leads yourself. You could be producing your own leads through tax records.
I mean, I think if you really want to be in the game, you should hit up somebody that's already doing it and ask to come join their team and, work off a commission split with them, learn their systems and processes. And if you really want to do it on your own, once you've kind of built up that nest egg, then you can go do it. But like you're saying, there's tons of different ways, driving for dollars.
Yeah. Was that a sales pitch to get people to join the team?
It's just like a slight sales pitch.
Slight sales pitch.
I like it.
But no, I mean, it was all relative to the fact that, like, in this real estate industry, you have to have a nest egg and cover a couple months worth of expenses ahead of time.
And this isn't, we're not selling pizzas. It's expensive. There are more zeros than your typical transaction, than your typical business. Like, we're dealing with houses. These are big ticket items. So everything inside the house is big ticket items, an HVAC, is everything. So yeah, having the systems, all that stuff, it costs money. So having money around sitting there is important. And
I guess also, we're talking about it because we do multiple at once. Like, for those out there listening who maybe want to get involved with one, you may not run into the scenario like we do where we're, balancing different construction projects and construction budgets. However, the big thing that they have to look out for is like their estimate that they're getting from contractors and what their budget is on that particular one property, and that they can, that they're able to get a construction loan that's going to be suitable for them based on, how much money they have, to where they don't run into a jam where they run out of money and they can no longer front the construction until they can get a draw, and then things may start going downhill from there.
Yeah, I think I was talking to somebody the other day about, maybe it was Jed on one of our coaching calls, that the construction is where it's make or break. Like, that's the biggest variable of the whole entire transaction. That's where dreams can be made and dreams can be crushed, because you can go over on something like our flip. Luckily, we have a good cushion, but like, we're over like tens of thousands of dollars. The pool was $15,000. Well, there was one day. So this is a funny story. Well, funny for some people, I guess, not for Chase and I. But one day we found out that the pool was going to cost us $15,000 to fix, and the septic, which we thought was good because it was like fixed in 2000. There was a permit pulled in 2017 on it. Apparently, the people that put the septic in put the dry field higher than the wet tank, so that nothing was running with gravity. So we had to put in a pump, and that was like 80. I think it was 8,400, something like that. Something like that. So one day on that job, on one house, we found out it was like $20-something thousand in changes.
Yeah,
that we didn't expect.
We expected something on the pool, so we can't say it's 25,000 change order. But we expected. I was thinking like 5, whatever, 5, maybe closer to 10, maybe. But it was like 15, and then 84. That was just one day.
Yeah. Did you guys consider filling the pool in instead?
Yeah, but it was going to cost money.
Either way.
I bounced this back and forth. It was going to cost money. So it's $100,000 to put in a pool, right? Like if we wanted to put in a brand new pool, that's where I started my rationing off of. Okay, it's $100,000 to put it in. It was going to cost at least $5,000 to $10,000 to fill it in properly. Then in our backyard, the pool has a big concrete pool deck. So now there's just a dirt hole in the middle of the thing and a concrete pool deck. So what would we have to do? We'd have to put a big concrete pad there. But then you're spending a bunch of money. So like by the time I spent 10 on the filling it in, we spent 15, and you have a pool that's in somebody's eyes worth $100,000.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, better to do it that way. But if you're filling in the pool, you would just take the concrete and put it in the pool and then just top it off with the dirt.
Still costs money.
True.
How much would you have charged me?
To fill it in?
Yeah.
Oh, for free.
You're such a lie, dude. Oh,
so
yeah.
funny.
Can we get that signed for our next project?
Yeah,
It's on video.
Okay.
it is on video. So that was a big day. That was a big day for us.
I think we should go over that project, Ryan. Like, we should talk about where we started.
Is it done? Or is it?
just about.
Close.
Yeah.
Just like the numbers, like the construction. I mean, you're talking about how it could be make or break, and like, I mean, originally you thought 95, right? And like, this is coming from a contractor. And
How many square feet was the house?
It's like 2,000 probably finished.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more than that.
Maybe 2,400 maybe upstairs downstairs.
I thought it was more. I thought it was closer to the 3 range with the basement. But
Maybe.
it's a big house nonetheless, but also there's a garage that we didn't realize had a loft above it.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then
then
there was another building that we didn't see in the original pictures. We also went under contract because we wanted the area so bad. We went under contract sight unseen.
Yep.
We didn't actually see the property until a couple of days before closing. That's when we found a whole nother building on the property that was full of stuff. I mean, we're on 15 dumpsters.
yeah. So it was a lot, and
Did my guys go there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was originally like thinking around 120 to do it all, and you know, here we are at, I mean, what are we sitting at right now? Like 140,
We're at 150.
150.
And I still haven't paid a bunch of people.
Yeah, so like we're going to be at like 170, but you know, you buy the deal steep enough.
Yeah, so
What's the ARV there?
That's to be determined, unfortunately.
we've already had offers at 725.
Like during the construction process?
Yeah.
We would have to finish it,
Mm-hmm.
but we've had offers at 725. And that it's in the right school district. It's an acre lot. It's got all the things, you know, it's brand new roof. It's got what it needs, I think, to pull some of our one buddy lives locally and right up the road from this house, and he's saying that we should be close to 8. So at that price, you know, we're probably at all in 630 range maybe at this point, 620, 630. I don't know what we said. We have to
Some
look
numbers.
it up. But we are, yeah, I mean, there's money there.
So how did you judge it from the beginning if the ARV was kind of up in the air?
We didn't know that's
That's what I mean. Like,
we
how do you
gambled,
know-
dude. It was a gamble.
It was a gamble.
At the end of the
What
day,
was
There was
the
no
purchase
comps.
price?
There was no comps.
Those are the, I guess, properties that make me a little nervous, like not knowing what the ARVs are.
The-
But like you said, if it's in a good school district, I feel like that can kind of drive the price.
Yeah, and then like you're backed up to Chartwell, which are all like $1 million houses. That street, I mean, there are some comps that are close. Like we knew we wouldn't get under 7, but like after that, it's
Just
like
didn't
kind of
really
up
know.
in the air. Like the
So
7,
what's going to be the list price? $825?
We don't know yet.
we'll figure that out. Yeah, we haven't.
$799. $900.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're ready to buy a house in Severna Park, we will sell it to you for $799.
How many beds and baths?
We're gonna list it as 5 beds.
Okay. So I just pulled up our calculator. If we get it done at 170, which I think we will, with all of our closing costs, upfront fees, and this actually fully counts all the interest so it's a little bit less than this, but 615. So if we get 775 or whatever, there's some money, there's some meat on the bones there.
Mm-hmm. How did you like pre-market it? Is that how you got a few people interested at 725?
Well, I mean, so Sean is a big local guy here in Arnold and Severna Park and Annapolis, and he had a client who was selling their house, sold their house, and he was like, "Hey, I have this property in Severna Park that's coming. You know, some of my partners have this property," and we showed them. They were interested, and so on and so forth. And then Ryan's gotten a call from.
I got 2 calls from 2 different neighbors.
Yeah.
One of them, son might be interested in buying the house, and the other one was just inquiring if we were going to sell it or not. So people saw us working on it and stuff. I mean, it was like a rat hole before. Now it's actually a nice house. So, I mean, that one's going to sell, I hope. But it has been a cash intensive project. We'll say that. I mean, you charged us like $5,000 for demo labor, I think.
There's a lot of work. I sent my best guys there that day. Those couple days.
Could have been free.
Could have been free, like the pool you said
The
you were
pool.
gonna do.
Was that what the pool was?
Yeah.
Oh.
Should have been free. I'll take my check at the end of the So what are some of the things that we think people are failing right now because of? So one of the things that I had on my list here was mindset. So why most investors fail and how to avoid it. Common beginner mistakes. What do you think?
Buying wrong, buying too fast, not actually knowing the numbers. You really can't actually know the numbers personally until you have some time in the game. When I first started, I didn't really know a lot of the numbers, and I didn't really understand CapEx and maintenance calls that may pop up. You know, there's ongoing maintenance calls that happen in some of my properties, such as like pest control, broken appliances because tenants don't know how to use them properly. For example, like a washer, they'll load it up with 2 loads of laundry or 3 loads or whatever it may be, and then it just doesn't work anymore. So there's certain expenses that people might not factor in, and I feel like the majority of the people, they just factor in, you know, PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and then they say, this is my cash flow. But, you know, they can have a 15-year-old water heater, they can have a 10-year-old furnace, they can have old appliances that are going to break soon or have a lot of maintenance issues. A lot of different things like that, I think, is where people get trapped. They look at just that surface number. I cash flow $400 a month after paying my mortgage. I'm good. But in reality, are they looking at all the big stuff?
Yeah. So we've been working on some calculators for people that join our course. So I do have a good one for flips and a good one for rentals that do take into account percentages for each of those things, for vacancy, for CapEx, and it really does a good job of breaking down all the numbers for you automatically. So for those of you that are going to join the community, join the course, you will get access to all these calculators. I've been like really dialing them in. Some of them are actually pretty cool now that we've gotten all the math to work right on the spreadsheet. So I will share those with people. But the knowing the numbers, running the numbers, buying right. I think you kind of hit the ball on the head there.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with investing is it's a business. Some people do it very passively, and I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake of kind of treating it like a hobby in a sense. And like when you don't know your numbers, it's kind of like an accounting issue, right? Like you're like, oh, okay, I'm cash flowing $300, but this maintenance repair was $300 this month and next month. And then next thing you know, you didn't even know you were negative for cash flow for the year. And it's like, oh, I had to replace that AC unit, but things just start piling up on your credit card or whatnot. And it's a business at the end of the day, so you got to treat it like one. I think that's part of the mistake some people have is they treat it like a hobby and not a business.
Yeah. I mean, a big thing, like you said, like just know your numbers. Know that, you know, if on the surface it looks like you're cash flowing $300, if you're paying a property manager 10%, and let's say you're renting a property for $1,000, which is on the lower end, you're paying them $100 a month. That's 33% of what you thought was cash flow, just because you're paying them $100 of that. So there's a lot of different things like that, small things you have to factor in to make sure that you're not.
And I think bookkeeping too, then is really that's where bookkeeping comes in. Knowing your numbers internally in your own business is super, super important. I learned it the hard way. Now I have multiple levels of accounting people within our organization that's literally counting the money every day. Look, every single dollar in and out. I don't know how much is there or how much is owed or being paid to us. Like we have people that's their job is to account for that money. And when you don't have that, if you're like couple of properties in, you could do it yourself probably on QuickBooks or spreadsheet even. But if you're not doing it with every single dollar, and I say spreadsheet, but that's really not a good practice because it's not capturing the expenses as you actually pay them in real time. Like in QuickBooks, as you swipe the card, it comes into QuickBooks, then it gets categorized in QuickBooks. It's much easier to forget to enter that expense into a spreadsheet at the end of the day. If your washer broke and you had to pay Bruno's $250, it's really easy to forget to put that number in into a spreadsheet. So having a system, QuickBooks is pretty cheap. I mean, the baseline is probably like $30 a month or something like that. Having that and actually using it too, because I think a lot of people, there's a statistic, and I saw it, I think my bookkeeper maybe even shared it with me, like a large percentage of people have QuickBooks and don't use it, or like they just, oh yeah,
I was that percent for a little while.
so like they pay for it, but they're not in there categorizing properly or setting up the classes or whatever whatever you have to do for your specific business. When you do that, sometimes you have a stark awakening of like, oh shit, I thought I was making money, but you're just turning wheels and not really making money.
Yeah, that's why you got me with Cindy, and so now I hired an accountant or a CPA, whatever you want to call them, to kind of go through those and categorize that, because that's all I was doing. I was paying QuickBooks a nice little $30 a month, and I wasn't looking at anything. I just knew that all my transactions were going somewhere, so I had something saved. But now I just have to spend the man hours to go through and categorize. So I was like, no, I'll just pay somebody else to do that, and now she can handle that for the next year or so.
Yeah.
Is QuickBooks good for real estate rentals, like owning rentals? And
Yeah.
It can work for that. I think your
you can
property
build it out. It's kind of something that you can build out, like to your own liking, using classes, using there's project features in there. You can really, because $30 a month is your baseline, right? I pay probably $1,000 a month or something stupid. Like I don't even know how much it is, but we have all of this stuff under one kind of roof. So we have unlimited classes, and it's not just your basic thing. So you can build it out essentially to be kind of what you need. But if for somebody like you, I would say that you could do everything that you need for accounting probably within AppFolio.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The next thing is, like, if you're just doing rental properties and you don't have a business, then you can do it all in the property management software. Typically, it depends on which software.
AppFolio does have corporate accounting features that you can use, but we're just partial to QuickBooks because it's also depending on what your CPA firm, how you do your taxes. My CPA firm gets in our QuickBooks. That's how they do everything. So I would have to either pay more or figure out another system to do my corporate accounting within AppFolio. So I have so many people. We have APM, which is like a third-party accounting company for our AppFolio specifically. Then I have Cindy, who's our consultant. Then I have Karen, who's our full-time bookkeeper. Then we have Brian, who's a CPA. And there's like 6 people.
Yeah, you're deep over there. Does AppFolio allow you to see transactions that were charged to your credit card though for expenses? Okay, they do.
Yeah, on the corporate side of it, yeah. And then so AppFolio has basically two tracks of accounting: corporate accounting for the whole business, and then property-based accounting.
Right.
So the property-based accounting is what's most important for the rentals specifically, individually. But the corporate accounting is obviously important for the overall health of the organization.
But the QuickBooks would be best for the rehab before it's rental, right?
Yeah, I would say QuickBooks is probably is more versatile in that way because you can put in whatever categories and GL accounts that you want. I don't know.
If you really want to track your expenses and know your numbers for a flip, like I think QuickBooks is easily the best because you're seeing all your credit card charges and it can all flow straight from like Home Depot or wherever.
And what's also nice about QuickBooks too, when you're getting into like getting some big loans and stuff like that, is the balance sheet. So it keeps your balance sheet where it tells you exactly how much equity you have at any given point. Yeah. And as you pay down that mortgage, your balance sheet changes and it goes up. So there's other benefits like that I don't even want to talk about because I don't really know too much about it, but I know that's what we do. So, and I know I paid a lot of money for people to set that up for me. So knowing your numbers, again, it just goes back to what you said, know your numbers. That goes for buying the house, rehabbing it. Don't get screwed over by contractors. I just got screwed over by a contractor in Florida, a boat contractor of sorts. So this is, lesson learned for me. And I'm like literally in the contracting business. Not that they were a contractor, they were boat repair people, which is kind of a contractor.
Wait, not the guy that was on the boat when we were there, right?
No. Okay. So Carl actually found these people on Google, but and it's obviously not his fault. They're just pieces of shit. But my welding thing I was welding that rod holder back.
Yeah, right.
They picked up my boat. The whole deal was they were going to pick up my boat with the trailer. So they were going to pick up my trailer at my Tampa house, bring it to the marina. Boat goes on the trailer. Trailer goes to the shop. They weld it.
That's a lot of trust, dude.
Right. So they picked up my boat. They called me and they said, "Hey, when we picked up your trailer, your brakes were locked. It was gonna be it's $1,100." I'm like, the fucking trailer is $1,100. What do you mean? Like, so they charged me $1,100 to pick it up and bleed the brakes, and then it sat in their yard. And I basically told them, I'm like, hey, before you pick it up, like, I need it back by this day, because I was coming down and I want to use the boat. So I was like, I spend a lot of money to keep my boat down there, and I'm only there every other week. So I want to make sure that you guys have it on the week that I'm not there. They said, no problem. We promise it'll get done. It'll get done. So it's like 3 days before I get there. I'm like, oh, let me check in and make sure that it actually got done. They're like, oh, no, you're actually not on the schedule until next week. I'm like, what the fuck? I literally told you guys that I was coming into town this day. I needed it today, like in 2 days from now. And they're like, oh, well, sorry, nothing we can do about it. I'm like, so you charged me $1,100. You didn't fix the fucking thing when you told me you were going to. And now I'm sitting there with no boat. So finally they're like, let me see what I can do. So now at this point, I'm in Florida. And I'm like there biting at the bullet to get my boat. And they're leaving me basically like on red. And they're like, oh, well, we'll be able to get to it. I think you can have it by Saturday. Okay, Friday came. We were going offshore Saturday. Like I had we were planning to go offshore fishing. Friday comes, no call from them. I finally called them. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, oh, we can't get to you until. He had the balls to say, I moved mountains to get you done by Wednesday of next week. I'm like, this date has changed and moved back like 4 times at this point. So like, I don't trust that you're gonna get it done. So I called like 1 million people down there that I knew, because I don't have a truck down there. Mm-hmm. So I had a boat on a trailer sitting in a lot somewhere, and I have a little BMW race car. Like I have no way to pick it up. So I called all these people that I knew with trucks to try to find a truck. Finally found somebody from my marina that had a truck, was willing to go pick it up. Picked up the boat. By the time I got it, it was Friday night at 10 p.m. that I finally got possession of the boat, and we were leaving the dock at 6 a.m. the next morning. It was a nightmare. So Poseidon Marine,
and you paid them
yeah, and I paid them $1,100.
Wait, they were supposed to weld the trailer?
No, they were supposed to. A rod holder,
fishing rod holder,
broke off.
Gotcha.
Like my T-top.
So did they fix that?
No.
Or no?
No, it's still broken. So
they made money on your bleeding your brakes.
I'm just $1,100 in the hole. So
yeah, I mean, like, was your trailer sitting for a while? Like, how do you even know that was accurate?
I don't think it was accurate, because before I drove it to Chase and I literally just drove this damn boat down to Florida a couple months ago, and before that, like a week before that, I had the whole trailer serviced. I always bring it into this trailer shop before I tow it down, mm-hmm. to have it like just a once over done, mm-hmm. you know. And they did some, I don't know what they did, but I paid some money to have it serviced. Yeah. And so I think they just totally robbed me. I literally think they just robbed me. Mm-hmm. So they'll get it. They'll get it back. But that's on to my next point. Be careful with contractors, especially in this world. I've been hearing more and more people getting robbed from contractors, and I guess it's not as crazy as it sounds, but like there was a guy in Delaware that just got caught with like $1.2 million of contractor fraud. Mm-hmm. He was like taking deposits and just never answering the people again. And he ended up getting caught, but like 1.2 mil is a lot to get away with on the front, you know, without anybody figuring it out.
Yeah, you got to collect a lot of deposits that way. There was a kid a few years back who he was building a pool company out of Colorado, and he was taking deposits and wasn't finishing jobs and collecting new deposits to start new jobs, and he just like kept going under, and went bankrupt because of it, just because he couldn't keep up with what he was doing. Yeah,
that is tough. So vet your contractors, ask them the right questions, go see their projects. Like I'm doing a big job right now for somebody, $500,000 remodel with big additions here in Severna Park. These people put me through the ringer. Like I had to walk them through that waterfront build that we did. I literally have walked them through like 6 projects. I did a smaller project at their home here, like their current home, and like they are grilling the shit out of me, which rightfully so. You're going to spend like $500,000. Somebody, you better know, what you're getting. But I feel like a lot of these people, especially I get calls a lot. I just had this actually when I was down in Florida. A lady called me she was like, I'm looking to buy properties. A foreign lady, I don't know where she was from, but looking to buy properties and fix them up and rent them or sell them. Okay, great. That's what everybody's doing, right? She was like asking me, everything that she was asking me was basically how to get things done the cheapest way possible. And I just got so frustrated at the end. I said, like, you really get what you pay for. I'm probably not the right guy for what you're looking for.
Right.
But be careful out there on who you use, because if you're just in it to get it done as cheap as possible, you're going to get burned. Somewhere down the line, it's going to come back to bite you. So we'll see. I mean,
that's on my first flip. I thought I was doing it the right way. I told my contractor, like, hey, I'll pay you more. I know I'm paying you more than I should be, but I'm doing that because I want you to do good work, right? And like, I'm going to hold money at the end to make sure you do good work, but I'm going to pay you more than what I think you're worth.
Yeah.
But please don't screw me over.
And she did.
And I still got screwed over. It's like, you do got to definitely vet the people that you're working with. And I agree 100%. A contractor can absolutely murder your deal.
Yeah.
I think that's why you're so popular, to be quite fair, is like, you've done really good work. You've built really good relationships with people.
To be fair, the bar is set so low.
Yeah.
For contractors, like,
I agree.
It's not even. It's like, it's funny, but it's not funny. Like, if you just show up remotely on time and do close to what you say you're gonna do, you've just beat out 90% of contractors. Literally, it's like, that's how bad it is. It's really kind of crazy. And now, like, we're booked with new constructions now. Like, we've built, a bunch of new homes, but like, people are flooding in because they're like, all these other people have made these empty promises and whatever. I'm like, it's very popular for people to get screwed over by builders and contractors. Like, it's way more popular than you think. So be careful. Anybody that's out there, buyer beware. Do your due diligence, knowing your numbers, all good stuff. I did have somebody else reach out about our coaching platform, and I basically told them, and I'm going to tell everybody here, like, it's taken a lot more time than we thought to get all this content and everything together. So it's coming down the road, probably another month or two before we have something like really solid. But it's definitely more of an undertaking than I anticipated.
Well, I mean, you can't rush it, right? Like, that's the whole point that I've been trying to like dial in is we're not gonna rush it. No, we're taking our time. Of course, we want it to be out there as soon as possible, but on the same token, we want it to be super valuable for people, and people actually feel like they receive the value that they're going to pay for it.
And every time I think that I have like a segment in my head, like, all good, I talk to somebody or some conversation happens and I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot to add this part in. And that's like such an important part of this topic of building a business or scaling a systems or whatever, that I'm like, oh, back to the drawing board and gotta redo it basically from scratch. And it's funny. We should have like a bloopers tape of all the takes that we do on these things. Like, it would be really funny to see. It would be inappropriate because of the things that we say when we do screw up. It probably wouldn't go over well on YouTube, but it's a lot, man. It is way more than I thought. And I was a teacher for 9 years. I was like, oh, building a course, easy. I did that. Basically.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, even from the camera equipment to everything else, trying to make sure that all that's right. Like, we've had where the audio only comes in one ear and not the other ear. Like, there's a lot to it. So we're trying to make sure that the value is super there.
But we have the Facebook group. We haven't started really putting in content into that, but we're kind of using that as a place to collect people and use it as a kind of a launching platform. Nick's going to start posting valuable content in the Facebook group any day now.
Keep an eye out for it.
Any day now.
I think behind the scenes, like, stuff at your rentals or anything, like, if you're evaluating a deal, that would be a really cool place that we could start posting content. And then if people have questions about certain deals or something like that, they can post in there.
Yeah. I think another thing that we probably need to look at, and we could talk about this like another time internally, but is just having like somebody like Mitch. Unfortunately, Mitch is so good, but he's expensive. Like, having somebody like that, like, 2 to 3 days a week, just following us around and capturing like the stuff that we need captured.
Yep.
There's so much valuable content of us just like going to these projects and checking in and seeing the mistakes and seeing what we could have done better. A lot just goes uncaptured because we don't have somebody to do that. But
well, if you're out there and you're good with a camera and you want to see the insides of what we're doing and be a part of the team,
hit us up if you know how to use a camera.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have a little intern follow me around, and same for Ryan, like someone to follow him around to the projects. I think there's a lot of valuable content, and I promise you will learn a lot.
Yeah. I do have an intern for the summer. Maybe we'll teach him how to use a camera when he's back from college. We'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, it's something that we need to do. We need to do better, get more content. I mean, dude, so that PE home remodeling commercial that I did, I did, but I didn't even speak on it. Mitch spoke on it.
Yeah.
82,000 views on Instagram. It's pretty good.
And that was paid? That was paid, right?
I boosted it. Yeah. Yep. So, but compared to like our other ones where we're getting like, I don't know, 1,000, 1,100, 800. This one's like 82.4K.
Yeah.
So the boosting works. The boosting definitely works.
Are you getting leads from that? Like, are you getting DMs?
So yeah, we've gotten a lot of DMs. Unfortunately, we also get a lot of spam now because of it, I think.
Oof.
So there is like random people that hit us up that are clearly not clients.
Yeah.
But we have gotten several leads from it as well. So I don't know. I'm just so busy right now anyway. I can't even really handle more leads. So we're working on scheduling stuff further out. But yeah, I think the social media stuff is important. Anyway, what else?
Dude, speaking of social media, I was actually in Baltimore today teaching some of the young kids how to wholesale deals. And
I hate that you say young kids because that's inferring you are young, and it's making us seem like we're like old pieces. Just like
you're old. You're super old. But no, I call them that because that's like the group chat name is like the Young Vibers or whatever. So like in my head, I'm like the old guy there because I'm 27, but like, and they're all like 24, 25, 23. Some of them might be
just
21.
youngins, just little babies.
So anyways, the point is like the one girl there, Adriana, she has like 13,000 followers on Instagram, but she was telling me today she's like niching down in the new construction. She has a few new construction buyers, and I was telling her about all the new construction. So I was like, yo, like let's come on, let's collab, let's do some content, because all of that now her network is seeing our network and our network is seeing her network, and you cross platform, you get some followers, but also it helps, with the sale of houses and different things. But like content, I was talking to her about it, is content so evergreen, like it will always be there. It's a living resume. That's why we do this.
That's why we do this. Yep. We got to do this more. I think, I also want to say this should come out before then, but April 10th, we have another event, CVPs, 6 to 9, Towson. Last event was really good. I felt like there was a lot of people at the last one. So hopefully this one, springtime. The winter always seems slower, but the last one was actually pretty popping. So hopefully everybody that's listening can make it. We have a bunch of sponsors, a bunch of stuff to give away. So that'll be another good event. If you haven't been to one of our events before, they're fun. We're not selling anything. We're giving food, drink tickets, and just good time with some cool people. You get to see Nick over here.
You ain't never lie, baby.
All right. Anything else we got before we wrap this up so I can go eat my sushi, my Tuesday night sushi?
I think that's all for this episode.
All right. Next time we'll have some more updates on this course, and thank you everybody for listening, and comment if you have anything to share with us.